Good.
So I have been working with the test bed, trying to
Mhm.
figure out how to log uBlocks packets and try to understand what's going on when the GPS just wanders off into no man's land. And I have something.
Oh, that's great. That's good to hear that.
Hmm.
You have something for testing, or you find
I have
some
something. I have
pattern.
show and tell today. Um, hmm, Reads rose below. Okay. All right. So let me see. I'll share my screen. All right, I'm still waking up. Share screen.
Mhm.
Come on. Share. Okay. So now the GPS logger tool that I have, um, it generates a file. So for any timestamp, it shows you the data related to the PVT packet.
Mhm.
And so if you look in the very top here, the first row, um, you get the data from the PVT packet and the nav status packet and the nav sat packet all on a single row. Now, the nav sat packet only comes once every 10 seconds. So
Mhm.
that's why you'll see. So, so
Yep.
there's, so there's your start. I was using data. I had one Zen used being the emulator for a recorded um, GPS. And so there was a startup. I start up by having a few seconds of
Mhm.
just nothing, and then it goes into a packet that I have. So you can see you have Greenwich Mean Time, valid location, latitude, longitude, altitude, heading. And let me show you a picture. Oh, I should have just shared my screen. Share screen. Share. So let me show you what let's see, pictures, screen shots. So this is a sample that I had,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah,
it's
look,
a
I wondering.
stationary GPS unit that just wandered off.
Mhm.
It's a- and that's what this file represents is CSV file. Um, Now let's go back to the CSV file. Um, And one of the things and so one of I did add something to my intimate, so you have the uBlocks, the teeny uBlocks Connect library and the teeny GP, and then I have an intermediate library that interfaces to that. So one of the things I added to this data is um, these two columns,
Good
distance
morning.
and bearing.
Mhm.
And that is the immediate distance and bearing between the last 2 points. Okay. So if you have a little bit of noise, hey, Louis, you're muted.
Good morning. I'm going to stay muted because of the background noise.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Okay.
So so I didn't change the uBlocks library. I didn't add this to the uBlocks library. I added it to my intermediate Connect library, which would be equivalent to your worker thing to calculate the distance and bearing of the immediate distance and bearing between 2 points, right?
Mhm.
And and then I'm looking for this is all in millimeters. So 510 millimeters is, half a meter. So you have that kind of noise that happens, right? And then I'm looking for something in, 20,000, 30,000. So 20,000 um, millimeters is equivalent to about
20
40
meters.
miles per hour.
Yeah.
Kilometers per hour is probably 50 kilometers, 55 kilometers per hour. Okay. And I have to find one of those. So here's places where,
That's
whenever the distance and bearing are -1, it means that that it dropped location valid in either
mm,
the previous or the next one, so it can't calculate it out. So here's an example of going up to 24,000, which says that in 1 second, this thing jumped, um, 24 meters. And then I lose my location, and then I jump 26
mhm.
meters. I have a better one. Here's one, 30,
I have heard it. Yeah.
yeah, 30. Yeah, so this column right here. The beauty of this is that now you can go over and you can say, well, what's going on? It says I have so look at column Q. It says I have a 3D fix,
Hmm.
right? Um, uh, it says the spoof didn't trigger on it. And then you go into satellites. It says, all right, you have 28 satellites. That don't look at that number. What you really need to look at is what you have: seven with healthy signal, seven with ephemeris valid, and six are used for navigation. And these are the six that are used for navigation.
Hmm.
So one of the things you could see is, what is their signal strength? You know, um, 21, 20, these are all really low numbers. So you have six really weak satellite signals, and um, and um, and so what I was looking for is, so then I'm gonna go back and look at some of the data where we had, that I got from um, Ukraine, where we had the jumps of like 120 meters,
Hmm.
100, yeah, 120 kilometers, to
Yes, I
see whether
remember
or
that.
not what satellites dropped out. Um, you know, to see if what satellites might maybe got added.
Hmm.
The other thing is PDOP at this point. It's nice. It dropped. Um, you know, so I guess what I was looking at is like, all right, if I can't trust. Well, actually, what I found from this is that there's good news and bad news. The good news is now we have a way to see what's going on. The bad
Hmm.
news is that we have to tighten up our constraints of what we consider valid GPS data, and we have to invalidate um, some of the data that's coming in, um, based upon a set of criteria.
Hmm.
Um, so this is only this distance and bearing is an indicator. But then we can just look at the data that, I'm sorry, I'm still half asleep. Yeah, we can look at the data around that, the degree of precision, um,
Hmm.
and the number of satellites, and the time to first fix. Some of these, like if I would have had, I just finished this late last night.
Hmm.
If I would have had some time, I would have just hit some of these columns. Um,
I have a question.
sure.
Um, I'm wondering, like, before the 30,000 jump, there is a lot
Mhm.
of in the thousands, like 4,000, 3,500. It, from what I noticed when I had the stationary sensor here, it was the nano, but it doesn't really matter. Like, it would like drift off and then suddenly jump back to where I was because I would suddenly get a fix again, which was more correct. So
Right.
I, it could be that this 31,000 jump is
Jump
actually
back,
jumping back to the
back.
original correct position after drifting off. Well,
That's a good point.
Have you checked the longitude latitude and see where the
Yeah, well, I mean, but you can get some of that information right from here, right from these two columns.
Hmm.
I know what you're saying. Like for
yeah,
example, um, this 31,000 was at the heading was almost north, and then all of a sudden I jumped back a half a meter, completely in the opposite direction, and then you could see following that jump to the north, the next corrections are all heading back in the other completely in the other direction. You see 192, 180, 90 degrees, 146 degrees. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
right.
it is what you're saying, Yella, is that in this case, I had a long jump in one direction, which may have actually I don't know where that is related to the map that I showed you. Did
On
you did you see?
the map you can do with QGIS.
Yeah, so
QGIS can you can select the point and then you can export the point out. So when it wanders off, you select that area, then you export it.
right.
That's possible to do.
Yeah. So yeah, Louis, when you joined, did you see the map that this data corresponds to?
No, I missed that. It just came
All
in
right,
just a little bit after.
let me just bring that up again.
Sure, thanks.
Uh, where is it? Share screen, share screenshots.
Yeah, here you go.
Right. So I had just picked a piece of data, um, and but I have if I would have had more time, by the time I got the code working, I would have picked something where we have data that has literally 120 kilometer jump in a single um, in a single second between two samples.
I have also something like that. I have even more than that, but yes, there's certainly a whole other area and then come back directly.
Right.
One point
But
only.
it, yeah, if you had a GPS log, um, like like the one that I got sent, um, let's see, if you had a GPS log like the one I sent, I can take that out, use that in the emulator.
Mhm.
And I have one Zen as an emulator, so I resend that GPS data into another Zen unit which has the test bed installed and the GPS logger installed, so it can generate um, the KML file, the CSV file,
Oh, that's true.
and
Yeah.
you could regenerate the GPS data if you wanted to.
Hmm.
Um, so it's great because it allows us to um, it allows us to reanalyze the data um, as much as we want.
Hmm.
So I haven't pushed the code for this yet, um, for these changes yet. So interesting,
Yeah,
right?
very interesting. Yes, I think so. And also the you mentioned the weak satellite signal of all the satellites. And
Yes.
is there other location or occasions that it happens again? That they're all weak and then the same problem shows up again?
Yeah, I mean, I have, like I said, because I finished the code so late, and then I had to run.
Mm.
That was a 2 hour capture that I had to rerun. Uh, um, at so I that was like I had set an alarm, woke back up, and then saved the log file and put it on in Google Drive. But yeah, you can. That's what I'm saying. For the little that I analyze this, whenever you have some of these big jumps and you look over, the number of satellites that are used has gone down,
Mhm.
and the strength of those satellites has gone down. So, but it's all where is it?
Yeah, that's
It's
great.
all Yeah, it's all related to that.
Mhm. If you sort it, but
Yeah,
then you
how do
lose
you,
your time.
I'm not used to LibreOffice. I don't know how you sort by a column.
Oh, that's here data, I think. Data and sort.
Okay.
I think, yeah, sort. And then you say which column you want. And then you say that's the,
Descending is good.
yeah. So, okay, should go.
Okay.
But now it's ascending.
Only this, yeah, only that, but you need the other way.
Did I do bearing or no, I did distance. Oh, I did it the
No,
other way.
you did
They did the
the
wrong way.
descending or ascending. Should have been descending.
Oh, wait a second. Data, sort, listen,
Descending.
descending. That's what I did. I did that the
Yeah,
first
you
time.
want to go from high to low, right? The
Yeah,
highest on top. That's descending.
So descending, yeah.
descending.
Yeah. Now, before you
Oh,
didn't click
because I have
it.
dark mode on. The dark is not is the selected one,
Oh, I see.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The
okay,
dark
that could be.
There we go.
There we go. Oh, it's interesting.
So
The same number.
unfortunately, some of those distances
No,
didn't
you
happen when I
only
had satellite. But at least I could get. So what I did was I output an index number. Oh no, it changed. No.
you only
No, no,
ordered
no, no.
two columns. You should select
You had to
everything.
you had to select everything and then sort. But that's fine. We can figure that out later. That's not
Oh,
so
I
important.
see. So what happens is if I was to select everything, I would
And
get the
then sort.
index, the line number,
Um,
um, and then I could go back and look at what preceded that in terms of the navsat packets to see what's going on.
but it's
I'm looking.
interesting. It has certain numbers they're fixed. You saw that?
Yes, it's
Oh,
always
very interesting.
it's almost like it's kind of the like a calculation error that always comes up with the same
Same number.
the same number. There's
That's
no noise in
interesting.
those numbers.
Can you sort again? Because that was
Yeah,
very
that
interesting what I
so
saw.
Yeah. Or just unselect all those
You select all the
those
columns.
or
okay.
unselect them all
Uh,
and then
you can just do
I
Control
see.
A.
Unselect them all. Um,
Yeah, you can do that too. Unselect all and then sort on the
Uh,
column. It will ask you.
okay.
yeah, but you're always having something selected.
Sorry, I wish I
Sort.
was
No,
more
no,
familiar
no.
with this tool. Okay, sort.
Sort. And it's
Yeah, oh,
you
that
have to
works.
tell it
Yeah.
which one. Yeah. You have to tell
And
it
then you
which
have
one.
to select a column,
Yeah.
Be
All
like
right, and I'm going
distance
with distance,
Distance.
and then
And
descending.
then
descending.
Yeah.
What looks like ascending. Ah,
yeah,
so
okay.
now I get the
Oh, this
index.
is very interesting. Maybe it's an relation between the numbers. Oh, that will be great if we have something like that. Oh,
That's
very
wild.
interesting.
it's always coming up with the same solution for
Hmm.
The bearing as well.
Also,
yeah.
yeah, and maybe there's a relation between the bearing and the. Oh, that's
Oh,
very
is it
interesting.
really? Wow.
Uh,
That's very interesting.
If you go lower, like to the lower numbers where the distance is maybe in the thousands.
do we start getting question is that do we start getting noise in those numbers? Well, why did it jump to 11,000?
Yeah, that's
No, it's
No,
I'm
that's
just
scrolling up and down.
I was
Okay.
scrolling up and down, right.
Okay.
So get down to
Oh,
1,000.
this is very interesting. They're all groups, fixed groups. Looks like. Could that be?
I could understand that. No, I don't understand that. Why the bearing and the distance always line up.
Hmm.
All right, so here's some
No, no,
places
no.
where
This is different. Yeah, that's different there.
that's still similar. Like
so, but
Close.
is
I
Oh,
mean,
wild.
it's still a 3 meter jump. So, I mean, that's
3 meters a second is quite fast.
Is this 3 meters? This is millimeters, right?
Millimeters,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
so
Yeah. Okay.
30. Yeah,
3.4 meters. Interesting. Yes.
Whoa,
Wow. I don't know what it
this
means.
no, this is
No.
great. I think we're up to something.
But we're still near the top, so
Yeah.
If
think if we
only this uBlocks company would just document what's in their black box, you know?
This is interesting. There's all the bearings and the distance are the same, or they only a little bit two options at the moment.
I have to look, you know what? I haven't confirmed the bearing code.
Hmm.
Um, I have to check that to make sure I got that correctly.
Wow, this is very exciting. Good. This is years of work. We getting something. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
The
Yeah.
good.
question is, what? What
We don't
exactly?
know.
Yeah, I have to look at the bearing code. I don't trust it's so my first instinct is not to trust I mean the distance code is between 2 points given latitude and longitude.
Mhm.
You get the result in radians, you convert it to degrees. Um,
I mean,
you
the
know,
heading is
and you
as well.
calculate the distance, right? And so I'm fairly certain that's correct. But the
Do
bearing,
we also record the height? Is there a difference in height? I haven't checked that kind of things.
well, the altitude is over on the side here, is over
It's
in
all
Oh,
the
column F.
same. Did the ordering go correctly? Because even the latitude and longitude is like the
hmm.
same groups. As if like the distance and bearing and whatnot, it's all tied
It's
to the same longitude, latitudes.
Now I know that my code loops around on whatever data that the emulator just keeps looping around,
Oh,
but I have the data that I'm emulating, I thought went for more than 2 hours. So this would have had to loop around, in order to get exactly this. So is that true let's go back up to the top.
I mean, there's so many same points, as if they're
hmm.
just duplicate points having the same longitude, latitude, heading, PDOP even, distance, bearing, it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
But
Is
the
my
time
is it
time is
possible?
different.
What? But the
The time
time,
is
no,
different.
is the
Just the time
time
is different.
difference the same every time though?
It's like every 15, kinda. Like,
I
Yeah, kind
think
of
it
15
is.
it's
seconds.
very weird. Oh.
I think I'm looping. I think I'm the data set
15
that I
seconds.
used.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the index,
Oh
it
yeah.
adds like 800 something every
Yeah.
time. So yeah, it is a loop.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Good,
right.
good
Well, you know
dividing.
what? That I feel better. Well, I feel like that well, at least my looping function is
Yeah,
working
that works.
on the emulator.
It loops every 15 minutes then, ish.
Uh I what?
Hmm.
So I have to go look at the emulator. It's supposed to loop at the end of the file. Maybe there's something going on that it loops earlier than that.
I mean, looking at your map, it didn't really show 2 hours of data, so
No, it didn't.
it was like just the whole around the house, like
Yeah.
so it didn't really look like 2 hours of
Oh my
GPS data.
goodness. It's possible that the data set I might have grabbed the wrong file. Ah, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Ah, that was
It's
exciting. That's good.
it's less strange now. It's less strange than
Yeah,
when we first looked at it. Okay.
Yeah, they're all the same. Yeah, that's true. But I don't understand the bearing then. Why it's that
Yeah, it
different?
is exactly. Yeah, there's no way all these numbers would line up for for the satellite data to line up perfectly.
But then there's something different in the bearing too. Because those are
Well,
different
there's
sometimes.
duplicate records.
I don't understand. If it's a duplicate record, why is the bearing there wrong?
There
There was some places where all right, let's go back. We have to go down a little bit further to
Yeah,
find
you can see. Yeah, here you have a few.
where.
Oh, hold on a second. No, not
Yeah,
yet. No. Yeah, here. The 277 and 185, 277, 185. That doesn't make sense.
yeah,
It's not
these guys right
duplicated.
here.
And there's also other ones. You
All right,
see
so let's
that
just look at this column. Let's just look at this column right here, and the one below it.
that's a row.
that's a row.
All right,
Yeah.
so first of all, they're not, I'm sorry, they're not they're not 15 minutes apart,
Mhm.
right?
No,
Yeah, so it's
there are
two
3
different
minutes.
locations.
Yeah, so it's
That
two different
happen to
locations,
have.
and the locations are not the same, right? They keep swapping. Yeah, so where we saw that
It's going
bearing
back and
go
forth.
A, B,
Yeah,
B, A, B, B, A.
just
Yeah,
happens to
we're
have the
seeing
same
that.
distance
Yeah,
at that
Hmm.
record, so that makes sense. Can you like push the code for this log, the generated log, because then I can run it on my GPS Zen as well and
Hmm.
right.
share
But
some findings.
also interesting, some are 3D lock and some are 2D lock in the
Right.
fixed type.
Yeah. That's weak signals. Now, this was it Pavlov had this? This data, it was on a windowsill. So already it's it's kind of blocked from whichever direction the
So,
window is facing. It blocks what's behind it.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, interesting. So there you go.
That's great news. Good, good, good. Yeah, push the code and I can also do some testing and we can
Right.
compare.
So
It
if you
has to
have a
run.
GPS, you need a
Yeah.
GPS log to use the code to generate
Hmm.
these files. And you have to put the data, it has to be raw GPS hex file.
Yeah, the one I've seen that's coming out of what is that?
Right. Yeah, so the UBX log that you can generate from the tool is the same file. You just rename it in the SD card to UBX input.hex. And then you go into the settings and say, for emulator, I want to use the SD card, and it'll use that file and it'll just replay it. It gets the timestamp from the very first entry in the file, and then um, as it loops around, it just keeps incrementing the timestamp. But the first run through, the timestamp will match your original log file.
Okay.
And you can also log just without an input file, I assume.
That replays my drive, that heart-shaped drive that I had around
Yeah.
my town.
Yeah, but like I can this afternoon I can make a log file from here with just live data. Would that help?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so
Yeah, I can-
if I understand correctly, just with the GPS capture, I can capture the log file. But to replay it, do you need two Zens or two M5s? One of them just feeding just basically serial port
Right.
to the
And you
actual.
need, yes, and you need a cable between the two Zens with ground, TX and RX, and the cable swap has to swap TX and RX between the
Right.
two units.
Okay. So no, in other words, it's not just replaying it from the SD card. It's actually reading it as if it was receiving it from the uBlocks module.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'll set one up as well to capture it. I'll just put it on the deck. Nice sunny day,
Oh,
and
good. No ice
and
anymore.
no, it's actually well, it's cold,
Good.
but it's just been absolutely really nice after the ice. Yeah,
Okay.
3 days without power, uh, $300 repair on the generator, which failed during the never mind.
Wow.
You
Never
have
mind.
what do you want to say, Michael?
No, I'm just saying to have the generator
Uh,
fail at that time.
Yeah,
that's
it was
that's
good.
not so good.
Oh, when we got the generator going again, the water pump wouldn't start up because of pressure sensor. And
Oh,
yeah,
so
so
you have your I have the same thing. I have the it's a safety that if we
yes.
run out of water, it turns off the water pump, and you have to hold that lever to prime to basically prime the get the water
No,
pump
and
running.
it wasn't that. It was it basically the controller tries to keep constant pressure, and it's the pressure feedback that was failing. It was reading over pressure and then just going into fault code and quitting. And
Oh,
so it was a 2 day to get the part from a supplier. And out of frustration, I have the pump in the little equipment room. I also store my skis there. Out of frustration, I just grabbed a ski pole and whacked at one. It worked.
there you go.
Good to have
Yeah.
around. That's true.
So, but it tell me it's some sort of an optical thing. So I'm wondering if there was like some sort of an air bubble that I dislodged.
Could
Oh,
be.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, sorry, a little
No, no,
side trip
no.
there.
No, that's good stuff. Oh, not good
Mhm.
stuff.
No, it's
So
percussive
some
troubleshooting.
Mhm.
Right.
Your backup generator runs on gasoline or on diesel?
Yeah, gasoline. Yes,
Gasoline. Okay. That's easy to get from your car if you need
yes.
it.
Well, I, I think I'm buying a good one now. So,
I recently bought the one from RV system from Onan Kuming company. It's a very nice one. I mean, I was surprised. Second hand and not expensive.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Okay.
So,
I had one other thing for the Zen. Was very interesting. I had two Zens at about the same time. People were building them, and they had a blank screen. I tried many ways to figure out why the screen was blank, but it turned out they had burned the wrong firmware. You you can burn on an Core S3 for Core F2, Core 2. I didn't know that. So they were programming them with the Core 2 code, and that doesn't work on the Core 3, on the sorry Core
Oh,
S3.
Yeah, true.
right.
So what?
Yeah, even though you have the unified library,
It didn't work.
you still have to build for the board separately. So
So
I'm
and
surprised.
anyway, I changed the manual. So if they have Core 3, they should use this version, and if a Core 2, they should use another version.
yeah,
If we
I
have
think it
two,
is possible to have like cross-platform support, like just one build for both. That's what the unified library does, because it's at startup it checks what kind of board you have by doing some kind of like checks, like uh, pulling some pins to see like is this board or this board, and after the initialization, you can actually ask the unified library what kind of board you are on. So we don't need the build settings, like if it's Core 2, like if define Core 2 or S3, those shouldn't be needed, as everything should just work as is.
But
But
I'm not sure about M5 burner because they ask you and they separate them for the Core 2 and for the Core S3. So
oh, really?
yes, but I was surprised that the Core 2 software could be burned on a Core
Yeah.
S3.
You can't do it in VS Code.
No, cannot. It
It
will not
will
allow
not
you.
let you.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Platform.io does. Yeah, maybe it's not possible. The Unified library does support it, but I guess you still have to build for it.